let's talk about props for a minute. What are yoga props? Something like a block, or a bolster, or a strap, or a chair, or a large book. Any of these things could be considered props, and they're things that just help support our yoga practice. I remember when I first started yoga, I went to a yoga studio, and the teacher would sit at the front of the class, and when you'd walk in, they'd say, oh, welcome, set your mat up, and just, grab some props if you need them. And I always thought in my mind, and this is a misperception that I carried, that I was good at yoga. I didn't need a prop. Well, the more I've practiced yoga, the more I've learned that being good at yoga doesn't really mean anything. And your ability to do yoga has nothing to do with if you need a prop or not. So I just want to really quickly show you why I use blocks a lot. And this is just one of the many reasons you may need to use a prop. So I personally use blocks in most of my practice because, as you'll see, I have the world's shortest torso. Okay, so it's like about 3 inches, which means there is not a lot of space that I have to be able to reach my tiny short arms to the ground. So when I'm doing asana like trikonasana or triangle pose, and I try and get into this position, I have to bend over so far just for my hand to reach the floor. And this really compromises my alignment in this pose. Now, I could float my hand, that's an option, but that's gonna take a lot of core strength to be able to do that. And that might not be what I'm working on that particular day. So I use a block simply to bring the floor closer to my hand. This allows me to press into the block and reach up through my fingers. So it gives me a little bit more stability in the pose. It also allows me to feel and kind of play with the alignment without being crunched over trying to reach my hand to the floor. And I know that I am pretty flexible. And so for me, a lot of times I'm capable, my body will get into the poses. But what I'm realizing is just because I can kind of Gumby my way into those poses does not mean that I'm getting the full effect of those poses. And for me, I find that I need to back out of the poses a little bit, and using props allows me to align my body in the most optimal way for that pose in that given moment. So if you don't use props or you haven't thought about using props, I really encourage you. You can get blocks for pretty inexpensively. You can use a large book, think like Harry Potter size books. You can use those just to help support you in your practice. And I promise you, once you start, you will never go back. I love my blocks. I use them all the time. And this little piece of foam does not say anything about my value as a person. So hope that helps.